Hey, welcome to the DVB channel, and today I do have an interesting matchup for you, which will be the CBD against the Chrono Dragon next stage. And this is actually a very interesting deck because it just released in the clan selection and Lock is reintroduced back in the Vanguard. So let's see how the game goes from here, as the CBD does go first in this game and the opponent does right into the Chrono Tiger here. He's checking to heal trigger here, so doesn't really do much. And now he does right into the Deleter here, which does have an on-hit ability, as well as this great one, which does offer the on-hit ability as well, allowing to search the top 5 for a Star-vader. So he does use the Deleter skill here for to draw a card, then using a top 5. And he does not hit to anything at all, very unfortunate. And because of Chrono Tiger here, he's able to draw one additional card to start the turn. And looks like it's going to right to the Cup here. And using a skill straight up, dropping the Chrono Tiger, but no Counter Blast to actually revive it back, and calling Nabu here, which will actually bounce off, given that his skill is able to actually buy one card and go into the soul to draw one card in exchange for a guide restrict. But the opponent, the CBD, does eat to a huge trigger here, so very strong. This will be a 1 to pass here and 2 blanks, so very risky gamble there, but it's still worth it. And he does right to Chaos Breaker here, but do know that Chaos Breaker Dragon doesn't have any force markers. So he does use this Grade 1 order here, which is actually a very interesting tech, as it allows you to pull one card from your hand to soul a Grade 2 below, and you look at the top 3 and you're able to take anything from it and add it to your hand, but the rest will go to the bottom of the deck, and he does opt for the 15k shield right there. It looks like he does call the Grade 2 White Vert, if I'm not mistaken for the name, and does swing it without any further commitment, as there's no units for the lock to happen. So the on-hit ability does hit again, and he does hit into a Chaos Breaker Dragon here, which actually doesn't do much because there's no much incentive to ride it again. And now the GC will go for his turn here, riding to the Chrono Dragon here, going for the Force 1. Does decide to actually pull at the side, calls the second Nabu, which is seen this game, and calls a Smoke Gear Dragon here, which allows him to actually strike for free. So he does opt to discard that Great One, and does go into the next stage here. And Nabu will swing first using her skill to actually bind again to escape from the Rearguard circle. So it's actually quite strong because you do dodge the lock, and there's no way the Link Joker is able to lock you down from that open circle except the new Grade 2, but he does open to a heal here, dealing 1 damage, and now goes for the next stage skill, dropping 2 cards. One of them being Reboot, which is the promo, allowing him to actually superior call to the Grade 1, the one in front, basically the one with the force marker, sorry. But it does put the Reboot to the front row, so it allows the Link Joker to actually lock him for the next turn. So the Reboot does draw him 1 card here. The Reboot will swing for 15k guard, and the CBD does eat it, eating to a draw trigger here. And the Smoke Gear will swing for basically for fun to use the skill to actually draw 1 card. Oh no, sorry, actually he does put a trigger there, so a 10k guard will be required. Or actually just a 5k guard, but it doesn't intercept with the White Vert. A PG will be forced out here, given that the Chrono Dragon did not use his skill, and it's time for the Chaos Breaker Dragon to actually showcase what it can do. So how will the Chaos Breaker Dragon actually play out? He does use the order straight up first, putting the Grade 1 Creature Searcher to the soul, and does take the 20k heal trigger. Very unfortunate, but most likely that's the best target he can find. He does use the Chaos Breaker Dragon skill to actually lock the Reboot, actually locking the Smoke Gear instead. Sorry, he just go for the Reboot again. He does gain 1 force marker because of his skill. And do note that he has a Grade 1 behind, is able to actually unlock 1 Rearguard and lock 1 more Rearguard, and this does proc the Chaos Breaker Dragon skill because it's not limited to the end of the turn. So he's able to steal 2 markers. The opponent does choose the markers though, if I'm not mistaken, and the markers will be gained to the Chaos Breaker Dragon. So in exchange for actually having no markers spawn upon riding, it does steal markers instead. So actually this card does snowball quite a lot to the later stage of the game. And now the Grade 2 does come down here to actually lock one of the open Rearguard circles, and if he does choose the back row, he's able to 10k plus 10k and draw 1 card. And the opponent does eat to a draw trigger straight up first, and this Chaos Breaker Dragon does plus 10k and a critical trigger thanks to the Grade 2 Rearguard, and a double trigger here on the White Vert with 2 force markers will be swinging at the Vanguard. But because of the damage trigger there, he's able to actually guard it for just 30k guard. So very strong. And that's right to another Chrono Dragon here to actually farm one more marker. That's called the Urcam here. And using the Chrono Dragon skill to actually strike to the next stage here. And now let's go for the Urcam, so giving next stage a triple drive, and Chrono 2 Tiger will be used for the cross, allowing him to actually counter blast him to draw one card, spawning to the back row of the field. So does swing the Urcam first for 20k guard. And the CBD does opt to eat the damage. And does swing with the next stage, which does have triple drive. A PG will be forced out by the Link Joker player, but we do see another heal from the Chrono Dragon. Very strong. And we do see actually a triple trigger, so very lucky that a PG was used here. And the next stage will use his skill here to actually discard the reboot once again, most likely putting in front. Now that's gain 1 marker, putting to the Vanguard circle. And the reboot will be caught to the 2 marker circle. Using his skill to actually Soul Blast 1, putting the next stage back to the bottom of the deck to draw 1 card. And next, Chrono Dragon will actually swing using his skill here. And no guard will be thrown. So fortunately, no critical trigger for the Link Joker player, and he does only eat 1 damage here. The reboot will be swinging for 25k guard, and the Link Joker actually does eat the damage by eating a draw trigger at that. And now he does use the CBD skill to actually destroy the back row, to actually eat 2 markers, and not opting to actually retire the front row smoke gear, because the CBD skill is not limited to once per lock. Let's go for the order once again, and if you do realize the order actually does fill the soul count, which does CBD have a slight issue of, and we do see another heal trigger added to hand, very unfortunate. And let's call the grade 2 once again to actually use his skill. Do know that it can only be put onto an open rearguard circle, so it's guaranteed plus 10k and a draw, given that only the back row is open. Now let's use Gear Breaker Dragon skill here to actually lock the smoke gear once again. He does gain a force 1 marker. And now he does have actually the Grade 1 Tiger here to actually unlock, so forcing, committing actually a front row lock, and now does steal the marker once again, and does draw 1 more card. And now suddenly the GC player doesn't have any marker at all, but the CBD player has 6 force markers. Man, this is actually quite insane if you ask me. And the CBD will be swinging for 43k with a 2 criticals, and the PG will be forced out here. Unfortunate, actually only 1 trigger here, a critical trigger, and with the grade 2 it will be swing at a pretty big amount, given that it does power up from the 10k earlier, but it's easily guarded from the Chrono Dragon player. And going for the next stage right here, how will the game actually turn out? Looks like pretty simple, just swinging with the next stage like this, and the PG will be forced out once again, twin driving into a double blank. But now using the skill to actually discarding 2 to superior right back to the Chrono Dragon, and do know that he's able to farm 1 more marker once again, and does swing with the Chrono Dragon, and Raw Shoes will be forced out here, and another double blank. So ever since that triple trigger here, triple trigger from the previous turns, the trigger seems to be run dry now, and the CBD will be continuing to actually steal markers and gain markers and actually continue his locking shenanigans. Gaining 1 marker in this case, putting to the CBD itself, and drawing for turn. And that's called the Gucci Searcher here, which basically just adds consistency to the deck and doesn't hit to anything at all, very unfortunate. And using the CBD skill to actually lock the front row, and the opponent will be able to gain 1 marker. Are we able to witness or unlock here? No at all. So actually the opponent does put the force marker to this side, very interesting, instead of to the Vanguard. A twin drive here, double blank once again, but does have a base critical of 2 because of the grade 2 skill. And the other column will be hitting quite hard because the Gucci Searcher is actually a 13k booster here, given that there's a face down card on the opponent's side of the field. And looks like the GC player only have 3 deck sides to work with, and this will be the final turn for him. And that's Hachi Hardcore the Nabu here, and Hardcore the dog. And the CBD player seems to have a decent hand size to work with, and this should be game. Let's go for the guard here. Most likely a 2 to pass. It's a 35k guard, so it's actually a 3 to pass, so it's a no pass. double blank, and this is game. Given that the last attack will be from Nabu, and if the CBD does guard it successfully, it's already game. So the CBD player seems to have all the triggers he needs in his hand, and yes, this is game. Thank you for watching till the end, and do consider subscribing, dropping a like and a comment if you do enjoy the content.